Yo guys, what's going on? This is Yorkie Man here and welcome to this first FM rebuild this year on Football Manager 2021. We're going to be kicking it off with a Burnley rebuild. And I kind of came up with this idea after doing the network save over on Twitch with my pal at Tenacious G. And basically we drew a random number of mid-table teams. I got Brighton, he got Burnley, a team he definitely didn't want to get. And upon him being at Burnley and seeing what he had in the team, in the squad, the situation that they're in, obviously now in real life, a little bit of a takeover, but we're not going to have that. We also don't know how much the takeover is going to impact Burnley. But yeah, just the situation that the club was in, it's more the squad. The club's financial situation in-game is very healthy and very good as time goes on. The squad that you start with, though, is an interesting one, especially for the usual meta style of play that you would play Football Manager, as well as the age and the fact that there's a lot of contracts going to be up. So we're going to be doing Burnley for the first one. In this episode, we're going to go through what happened in Season 1. So welcome to Burnley, guys. They do have themselves 2 English Premier Division titles, 1 FA Cup, one 3 Sky Bet Championship trophies, 1 League 1, 2 Community Shields, 1 Sky Bet League 2, and an Anglo-Scottish Cup, because I know why they've got that. But that is the situation. But the most important part about this rebuild is I don't want to do none of this game, is this. It is the squad. When you look at the squad just in retrospect, it's a very small squad, a 23-man squad. Also, what you have to understand here, the youth is awful. The youth at Burnley, I don't know what it is. They've been done dirty. The youth is awful. And then we come on to the next issue. They're old. They're a very, very old team. We've got 35-year-old Phil Barsley, Eric Peters, Matt Lowton, Jack Cork, Dale Stevens, Jay Rodriguez, Ben Mee, Ashley Barnes, Ashley Westwood, Kevin Long, Goodmanson, all the way, I would say, down to the 28-year-olds. They're players that you're going to need to replace within the next few seasons. That's what makes this so difficult. You've got a list of players here that, in my opinion, aren't very good quality on the game either, that you need to replace pretty sharpish. But the situation is, when it comes to the finances, we may have a decent overall balance and the club looks like it's financially stable, actually being rich. But your transfer budget is 10.5 million. So with 10.5 million, you have to kind of overhaul this squad, which makes it so exciting to get it to play the football that you want. Now, we all know on Football Manager, or if we don't know, you're about to know, that basically high pressing, high octane, high attacking football is definitely the best way to get results. Now, it's not the only way to get results, and I applaud people that try different ways. The low block is something we've toyed around with a lot this year. We're trying different things over on Twitch, but that is the meta of the game. If you play a high line, you play attacking, you play a gegenpress, more often than not, you're going to do well. There's one thing this team won't be able to do, and that's gegenpress. They're not that kind of outfit. They're not that kind of team. So it really makes you question how you're going to set up. Now, initially, in my head, I'm thinking 4-4-2. That would probably be the best way to go about this. Then again, I'm not too sure how I get a 4-4-2 to work with the quality of wingers that we have in the squad. I don't see Jay Rodriguez as a winger. I don't see Barnes as a winger for sure. So you've got Goodmanson, you've got Brady, and then you've got Charlie Taylor potentially, but I would argue he's our best left back. And then you've also got Dwight McNeil, obviously the best young prospect at the club, someone who looks to be very good in the future. Now, Josh Brownhill as well is a fairly decent player, but when we're looking at quality playmakers, we don't really have that in the squad. We have some good hard-working midfielders. So when you look at 4-4-2, the biggest situation there is I don't really think we've got the quality on the wings where I feel like a 4-4-2 thrives in this year's game to play 4-4-2. So we're going to have to question how we're going to play that. I'm not sure how we're going to work that out. I'm not sure how we're going to get the squad to play, but when you look at the overall squad, this is the most difficult initial start in the Premiership you will have. Going through the squads, West Brom, Fulham, so on and so forth, in terms of how you would like to play football, this is probably the hardest squad to start with, especially with the age range. I'm not too keen about playing Phil Bardsley or Eric Peters, to be honest with you. You've got Matt Lowton, who's a decent player, but it's difficult. It's difficult. And then your centre-back partnership is probably the biggest issue because you've got an unbelievable player in Tarkowski, and then your problem is Ben Mee's injured for roughly about 2 months, 3 weeks to 2 months, but it's usually roughly about 2 months. So getting that partnership shit back together, getting the gang back together and getting them working well together is going to be key for us. But anyway, let's jump forward now. Let's see how we got on this season, season 1. Let's see the players we brought in, and let's see the way that we start to move this club now more to a Yorkie style. There will be one thing with this rebuild, though. I aren't just going to go out there and do the matter of, I'm just going to buy all the best players and all the best wonder kids. One, we will have to use our scouting network to sign players. There is no, I don't want to do this every time. We will have to use the scouting network to sign our players. There is no other way I can sign them apart from speaking to my director and saying, yo, buddy, find me a player. That is it. That is the way. You can set your scouts up. You can do what you want with them. But this is the way we find our players. I can't just search the best player for this position or for this attribute or for this style. I can't just search for the wonder kids. I can't do any of that. My scouts have to bring them to me. That's how we will be playing the rebuilds. It adds a bit more depth to it. I like it that way. In fact, I quite like playing the game that way. It does add a little bit more depth to it and really pigeonholes you into a way that you're going to use your scouts now and a way that you're going to sign players. You're going to plan ahead, and this is exactly what we do. I'm going to start planning now, looking at players that are going to be Burnley players down the line, hopefully Burnley players down the line, and be a higher quality of player. So let's go forward, let's get into it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. We also will do a very Burnley thing, and we're not just going to go out and sign players willy-nilly and bankrupt the club. We're going to look for good deals. We're going to look for smart signings. We're not going to overpay on players, and we're going to look for players that fit the way that we want to play at a decent price. We want to keep Burnley rich. I don't want to start spending all the money and doing all these, I'm going to put this over this month and I'm going to pay you then and I'm going to pay you there. We want to keep Burnley as rich as possible while building a Premiership squad that can really compete. So here we are, boys. The end of season 1 here with Burnley. And to be honest with you, at parts it looked like it was going to be bleak, but it's actually been a very good end of the season. So I'm going to tell you the story now of how we ended up in this scenario. But yes, you will see that right. We were runners-up in the English FA Cup. We made it to the final, and it was a disappointing defeat the way we lost it. And, you know, just unbelievable to think at the start of the season how it went. You saw the squad, you saw the difficulties and the challenges we were going to face. And then how we ended up where we are now is just, to me, it blows my mind. Really impressive, really excited, really happy with what we managed to achieve this first season here with Burnley. So before we go through the transfers, we're going to do it half season by half season because this was a season of 2 halves. As you can see here, this first half of our season was horrendous. We were battling down in relegation. We were very much struggling with the squad we had, with what we was trying to achieve. I was changing stuff a lot. I went with that 4-4-2, what Burnley can do. We're going to lump it long. And it did not work, boys. It worked on the odd occasion, but it just did not work for us. We couldn't get it to work. And the first half of the season saw us feeling like we might actually be in a relegation battle. We could be in a relegation fight. Now, you saw there that we finished 11th, but it was a real rough ride this first half of the season. So let's see what we did with that first 10 million and see how we turned around some of the personnel to try and benefit us. And it did work in spots in this first half of the season. You see there's some decent results there. A 4-1 against Newcastle. We beat Man City 1-0. We beat West Brom 2-0. Leeds 4-0. Leicester 4-0. We had our moments, but I think towards the end of January we started to see a turnaround because something really big happened in January that really saved our season. So we signed 3 players with the budget we had. We had roughly around 10 million. Now, one of the players we did sign was because I wanted to replicate exactly what G did on his stream and sign this one particular player and see if we could get all out of him. In the end, we did actually very well. We first picked up Louis Ferguson from Scotland. Now, Scotland was an area that I had scouts at. I looked at Scotland quite a bit. I felt like it could be an area where we picked up some decent, cheap gems. And Louis Ferguson is at the club now. He looks like a pretty decent player. I really rate him for his physicals and his hard-working aspect. And he's not a bad passer of the ball either. He's a good passer of the ball. Just doesn't really have that vision or concentration for me, which just puts me off him a little bit. But he's a very good hard worker and someone I thought would definitely fit into the squad. We stayed in Scotland and picked up Ryan Porteous. I believe that's his name. We picked up Ryan Porteous. Again, another younger centre-back who ended up going out on loan. He looked pretty decent. He's got great tackling, heading, marking. But in the end, he just wasn't being utilised enough. And I wanted him to progress as much as possible. So we sent him out on loan. He had a fairly decent time at Birmingham, but not unbelievable. And if I'm being honest with you, coming into the new season, he will probably be loaned out again to give him one more year and see what he can do. If he doesn't do the business, unfortunately, we'll probably move him on. And last but not least, it's Michael Grigorich. This is a player that G signed, a player I actually like. Watching more Bundesliga football as time goes on, he's a player I like. He's a decent player, Austrian, and if you look at his attributes, he's very good. He's good physically. He's not got much agility and balance. He's not going to be unbelievable when dribbling the ball. That's not what we want from him. He's 15 off the ball. He's 17 finishing his first touch. He had a very good first year for us as well. He scored 14 goals. Now, I think for the Premiership, a brand new player coming to the Premiership, I'm very happy with Grigorich's return this time round. I'm really happy with it. And he did very good for us up top. He did very good for us. And he was a key to some of those results in that first half of the season. It was a big key to some of those first half results. And he banged in some decent goals for us in that time period when we really needed them. So all in all, I'm very happy with the Grigorich deal. I think we paid 5.75 million. So again, very cheap for what he managed to achieve for us. And he's now actually valued at 14.25, but he's going nowhere. At 27, he's a striker I want to keep around at least for another few seasons and just keep seeing what he can do there in the Premiership. I would love his mental attributes to be better, but they're not. And his best ability is to drift, be in behind the defence and get the goals that way. When it comes to player sales in that first window, we didn't really do all. I wanted to keep the team together so that we had the gang together as much as possible to keep up those team dynamics and team chemistry. It kind of worked. It did kind of work. But as you saw, we didn't get the greatest results. But then you're wondering, what happened in January? Why did it turn around in January? Well, this is the results from January on. Now, they're not unbelievable, but we had some really good results in there and some great performances, as well as some lackluster ones. But we definitely improved on our early season form. A big reason for that is the board gave me, I believe, around 45 million. I can't remember the exact figure, but it's roughly around that, around 45 million. And that is exactly why things changed. We moved on some players as well. We brought some new players in and they completely changed the dynamic of how we played our football and how the squad performed. It was wonderful. I must admit though, with this Burnley save, get through the first window and then you're going to be fine. You really are going to be fine because the board keep giving you money. I will show you now that we have a budget of 56 million going into next season with 104k on the wages. You're going to be fine for money. You're going to be fine to build your own team that you want to build. But these are the players we brought in now in January to try and help us get back on track. And we made some great transfers, in my opinion, and some good sales as well. So when it comes to players in, we didn't sign too many when you think about it, but we signed so many key first team players. It's exactly what mattered. One of them being a man we need to bring back at all costs this next season. Hopefully we can get a bid sorted for him, and Man United don't want him too much. Is Axel Tuanzebe. He came in and he was brilliant for us. I played him a lot actually at DM. I thought he was going to come in as a centre-back, but Ben Mee and Tarkowski's partnership was really rocky that first half of the season. I got those two playing well as bringing in Bruma, and Tuanzebe just came in and transformed playing at DM. I played him at DM, just defensive midfielder, and he was a rock there at the back for us. Christiansen, again, I did look for these deals as I mentioned. Christiansen, we signed him at 30, he's now turned 31. I wanted a guy that he didn't have to have too much physically, but was going to be a very good playmaker. And Christian is just that. For 1.7 million, he came in and did some brilliant stuff for us. And I was very happy with that transfer. But again, I'm trying to go down this route of not just spending tons of money for the sake of it. They don't even think he's good enough to be in the Prem, but he's been a very good performer for us. Trying to be as shrewd in the transfer market as possible, we signed Jeffrey Bruma, who came in. He's had a few injuries, but if you look at his average rating, he's come in and he's been very good for us. Obviously, he's going down at the moment because he's on holiday, but he's actually been very good. Again, they don't think he's Premiership quality. He only cost 200 and odd thousand, but he's just been so good for us. He's been really decent, and this is what we try to do. We try to search for these kind of players. Adam Smith from Bournemouth, obviously relegated side. Again, a little bit older, but someone who I thought could come into the first team straight away and do a job. One of the younger lads, Nicolas De La Cruz. I don't know how we got a work permit for the Uruguayan, but we managed to bring him in. He looks tasty. He looks like a good player, and he can cover a few roles, which was important. The wings is where I felt like we was losing it a lot. And it was frustrating me a lot. So bringing in Daniel Podence, Wolves decided they didn't want him. He's the biggest transfer we've made so far. Wolves went, we don't want this guy. He's not very good. I went, I definitely want this guy. He's unbelievable. And he helped a ton by far. Having him and McNeil as our wingers has just transformed the way we can attack, because we do counter quite a lot. And having these two guys fairly quick, both very, very accomplished on the ball. They're both extremely comfortable at being on the ball. I mean, if we take a look at Dwight McNeil, the man looks like he's going to turn into an absolute savage, because he is just getting better and better and better as the year goes on. And as a winger, he is fantastic, and he keeps on improving. So I'm very excited to see what Dwight McNeil will bring. I'm hopefully going to hold on to him for as long as possible. I'm, of course, worried that eventually one of the big boys is going to come in and try and take him. So we will try and hold on to him for as long as possible, because he's a Burnley lad and he's doing fantastic for us. We also loaned in Curtis Jones, but that was a bit about it. Curtis Jones came in. He had an all right season for us. Unfortunately, he picked up a big injury when he was a starter. We were playing with a cam. I'll show you the formation. We weren't playing with a DM, we were playing with a cam. Curtis Jones was playing there. He got injured, and we didn't have anyone else who could play cam like Curtis Jones could. I knew that instantly, so I dropped down to a DM. I thought, right, we'll move to a DM, that'll be fine. And Axel came in, and results picked up even more when we went to a DM, and we were more defensively solid. So, I mean, it's a little bit pragmatic. We try and work good passing movement, but a key to it is having those really good wingers and strikers that put the ball in the back of the net. For me, Ashley Barnes was very good this season. He got himself 12 goals, and he did a job. I mean, probably the standout player who I really didn't expect to do well, and he wants to leave the club as well, which is a little bit devastating for me, was J-Rod. I started playing him out on the left, and out of nowhere, he just started scoring constantly. 11 goals in the end, 10 in the Premiership, 1 in the FA Cup. And he was really pivotal as well. So when we needed players to chip in, they did chip in. Now, we still have this issue with the squad. It's not changed. We still have a problem with the squad in the sense that we are old, we are aging. There's going to be some changes. We definitely only patched up the problems to get mid-table. There's still going to be changes needed to make here. This is the list of players that are all 30 and above. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of them are starters. So there's that problem there that we're going to have to turn that around. We're going to have to bring in some younger players if at all possible. I kind of want to keep the English idea, but the problem with the English idea is they're so overpriced in this league. We're not going to get them for the prices that Burnley got these lads for. But we're going to try. We're going to try with that routine. But there's players here that will play next season without a doubt. Ashley Barnes will play. Westwood will probably still have a rotational part. Christiansen will still play. Goodmanson will probably go. He wasn't good enough for us. You know, Matt Loughton will probably still be here. Jack Cork, who had a good year, will probably still be here. So they're still going to be here, but we have to remember now that 1, maybe 2 seasons, we're going to have to watch how much they play as well. We're going to need to start rotating them. Now, there's some good players in this squad already, like I said. We need to get Twanzebe back. But all in all, I'm just going to be excited to see what we could do progression-wise now and just see how we can transform this team around. I'm excited for a new season with this squad already and a couple of new boys coming in. I think we could do something really special, but let's get to that FA Cup final in where we nearly did something special. So this was our running, boys, to get to the FA Cup final, and the thing that stands out instantly is the North London sides that we knocked out to get there. Arsenal and Spurs. We actually beat Arsenal and Spurs to get to the final. We didn't have an easy run in. We didn't get there not off our own merit. We really did deserve this. We beat MK Dons to start with. Then we beat Wolves on penalties. We beat Arsenal in extra time. J-Rod and Michael Grigorich in the 101st minute. Beat Swansea 2-1, Grigorich and Ben Mee. We then beat Spurs in extra time. Grigorich again with the extra time goal. But then we came up against Liverpool, a team that was in decent form this year. We're always going to be favourites for the Cup, and we lost 2-0 to them. It was a sad day. Sadio Mane tore us a new one with 2 big moments. We did hold our own. There was a few opportunities in there that if we'd have taken them, I think the game would have swung in a different balance. But all in all, we couldn't do well, and not having Podence hurt a little bit because he was cup-tied. We couldn't play Podence, so it was McNeil and Rodriguez, and I don't know. We just fell short. We were never supposed to win the FA Cup. We just fell short. It was lovely to have such a good cup run, though, and it kind of coincided. The good cup run in the FA Cup and the good form in the league kind of went hand in hand, and that was really nice as well. And unfortunately for me, Man United did end up winning the league. Liverpool coming very close second. It was done by a point. Man United having a very good year. The teams relegated were Leeds, West Ham and Fulham, so teams that maybe we could be a happy hunting ground to bring in players for cheap. We have roughly, as I said, about 54 million, but I don't think we'll spend it all. I think a bulk's going to be spent on Axel Tuanzebe if we can bring him in. And then we'll maybe look to just freshen up the squad with some young players. I won't change too much. I'm very happy with the squad we had in the back end of the season. But anyway, guys, this has been a long time coming. I am making my way through season 2 already, but this has been a long time coming, this one has, and I've been promising this for ages. And the problem is when you do these rebuilds and you're creating this content and that content and this content and that content and you're live streaming and you put more hours in live streaming and then you do it, you're all over the shop. And I don't actually get that much time to sit down and just play the Burnley save for what it is. A save that I am enjoying, though. There will be more Football Manager content coming to the channel, but this will be it for now. I appreciate you all. I look forward to seeing you in Season 2. You're new around there, smash subscribe. I'd massively appreciate that. Hit like. All the socials are down below. Twitter, Discord, Twitch, all that goodness. I will see you in Season 2, boys. Take care. Much love. Mwah.